There you are.
Hey.
Yeah, you guys got it down. That is one handsome video camera you have. That's super duper HD.
It's a Kodak Instamatic. I don't know.
Well, I just want to welcome you to the program. Thanks for being so patient, Gerald. It's so good to see you again.
Oh, good to see you.
For the audience, if you're just tuning in, guys, thanks for joining us at SGT Report. On the call today, we have Gerald Celente from the Trends Research Institute, TrendsResearch.com. Mr. Celente, such a joy to have you back. Thanks for taking the time.
Well, my pleasure.
Now, our good friend and contributor, Mark S. Mann, was trying to join the call here, and we were having a lot of technical glitches making that work with the group call. And he has some specific questions for you, but I just want to tell everybody that our friend Mark just had the pleasure of meeting you recently, didn't he, Gerald?
Yes, he did. We had a great time. Him and Frank came up from Cars, and we went out to lunch with John Perkins, my close combat teacher from attackproof.com. So we spent a lovely afternoon together. It was great meeting him and Frank and in talking about the things that we're all concerned about and what we have to do to move in a more positive direction. So I thank them both, or all of them, for coming up and visiting us.
Well, you're very generous with your time. He was very excited to meet you. He tells me he spent, I think a good 3-4 hours with you guys, and he just wanted me to know what a class act you are. So I'm passing that along to the audience.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Class Act. No, and seriously, you've always been so generous with your time with us. So today, Gerald, I thought we should talk about a number of things. What do you see happening in 2014 in terms of trends? I want to talk to you about the Obamacare debacle, get your thoughts on that. I actually wanted to ask you about Obama's secret TPP agreement to see if you have any thoughts on that. I want to talk about the economy. First, let's do a Mark S. Mann question. I know this is the question he wanted to ask you in terms of the economy, which is, what events or sequence of events will it take for our foreign creditors to start dumping their dollar assets? Will it come like a thief in the night, or is it already happening?
Well, it's already happening to some extent. You're seeing China, for example, now opening up banking system in the UK and doing more deals with the yuan and their people that they're doing trading with and pushing the dollar out as a reserve currency. But it's a long road because when you look what's going on, for example, just this past Monday, data came out showing that housing prices in China went up 9.6% last month. They have a bubble that they can't cool down. They're dumping trillions of yuan into the system to keep it going. And then you look at the euro. So what's the reserve currency? Certainly not the euro. Look what the mess the European zone is in. France is in recession. Italy, Spain, Portugal, Greece, all in recession, Ireland. So what is the reserve currency? That's what's allowing the dollar to maintain the level that it's even at now. Because who do you go to? But over a long period, you can see less and less of a reliance on the dollar as a reserve currency. So I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think it's going to be a process. And then maybe in 5, 10, 15 years from now, there might not even be a reserve currency. You know, people will just be trading in the currencies that they use, which, by the way, I believe that's the way it should be. Because the reserve currency for the dollar, I mean, it only came about, near the end of World War II at the Bretton Woods Conference, because the rest of the world was destroyed. There was no Europe, Japan. I mean, come on. And China wasn't doing anything. So now the game has changed.
Before I ask you Rory's question, I want to ask you about all of the other currency basket cases that are out there. If we look at Japan and just the absolute annihilation of their country, number one with debt, but number two with this Fukushima event, I look at Japan and the yen as a basket case. The euro is a basket case. The dollar is a basket case. Are there any currencies on the face of the planet that aren't basket cases at this point, or are they all because they're all fiat currencies?
Well, you said it. They're all fiat currencies. The Ponzi scheme can only go on for so long. It amazes me how they keep pulling it off. I mean, they just came up with one new scheme after another, and it's baffling. For example, I would have believed that the economy would have crashed by 2010. Definitely by 2012. But then you're finding out that the Federal Reserve is dumping what? 17 to 22 trillion into the system. So you don't know all these backdoor dirty deals that are going on. So yes, to me, the fiat currencies are all not worth the paper they're not printed on. However, that's why I'm a believer in gold and to a lesser extent silver. And that's why I keep buying gold. And gold's taking a hit. They keep pushing it down. But again, Sean, look at the facts. Oh, they're rigging the Forex. What is that, $5.5 trillion a day being traded? Oh, they rigged the LIBOR rates, the interest rates that, affect everything. And these are, I'm not making this up. Oh, last week, JP Morgan Chase paid another $5 billion. A couple of weeks before that, they paid $13 billion for, quote, misleading. Isn't that a nice word? Misleading, misstep, missold. It's like a hooker, this miss whoever. But they get away with it. It's a criminal activity, but they use the white shoe boy language to call it misleading. It's criminality. It's larceny. So to me, that goes all back to gold. When is it going to crash? When is it going to happen? I don't know. Nobody does. But at some point it will, and it will take a crisis to have these kind of things unravel. And this time, they're running out of games on how to fix it because, after all, they invented too big to fail. They invented quantitative easing. What are they going to come up with next?
Well, I'm nodding my head as you say larceny because, of course, what's coming to mind is this recent penalty that HSBC was forced to pay for laundering drug money and terrorist organization money, I think to the tune of nearly $1 trillion, and they paid like $1.8 billion in fines. And again, they'll put your children in jail if you get caught with marijuana. And these big banks can do just about anything they want, and nobody goes to jail. You'd love to get the scoop on what you see happening in 2014 or 2015 and beyond, because one of the questions our friend Rory has is he's heard you say in the past that this coming March to June would be the time frame for something really major to happen with our economy. He recalls you saying that. Do you think that's still the case, or do you have an update?
Yeah, I do believe it. If it's going to happen, that's a good time period. I call the dot-com crash in the TrendsJournal. You can go back to it. It's online. We posted the piece from October of 1999. And I said that it would crash by March of 2000. By the second quarter of 2000. And it did. We're seeing the same kind of similar bubble now. This whole thing with Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and one after another. They're not making any money on advertising at the levels that warrant these kind of premiums that people are paying for them. And we're seeing bubbles being created in a lot of areas. Here's why I think it's going to happen in March. The tapering. At some point, they're going to have to stop unwinding this money pool that they just keep filling up. They're going to have to do it. They just can't keep it going like this without destroying the currencies. I believe it's going to happen after the Christmas holiday, because Christmas sales, of course, are important to most retailers around the world. So after Christmas in the new year, they'll do something to slow the tapering. That's going to shock the markets. It's going to cause interest rates to rise. This is an interest rate recovery. The only reason there's a recovery in the United States and other countries, the European zone, and all around, most of the world, the more productive nations, is that they have record low interest rates. So when interest rates go up, the economy goes down. When interest rates go up, the bond market crashes. And that will be a bigger crash than any stock market crash, than any currency crash. It'll be the crash that ushers in the greatest depression. So at some point when interest rates go up, this game is over, man. You look at the only you want to buy a car, Sean? I got a deal for you. How about no interest rate, 0%? So they're making this stuff up. What they're doing in the auto industry, by the way, is the same thing they did with the housing industry with his no verification loans. So then you have the other end of it that makes it, to me, plausible why it's going to happen. Hey, take a look at real income. Keeps going down, doesn't it? Okay? If real income keeps going down, median household income keeps going down, how are people going to be buying stuff? Oh, debt levels are going up. Consumers just took out more debt. Oh, and by the way, those wonderful student loans that the average it's taking over 20 years to repay, now their default rate is over 11%. So yeah, I think around March is a good time to see this thing unraveling.
And you hit on the student debt. One of the things that we've been talking about a lot at SGT Report is not only the student debt, but the world these students are inheriting. And it kind of breaks your heart because a lot of these kids are getting out of college with insurmountable debt and no jobs. There's not a lot of jobs available. And on top of that, now you've got this Obamacare mandate where they're being told that they have to go out and get into these exchanges and turn over all their personal information to the government and jump into this Obamacare debacle. Meanwhile, a lot of good, hardworking middle-class people are getting kicked off the insurance they had by their insurance companies, and they're told they need to go and get involved in Obamacare. With the medical industrial complex being, in the health insurance complex being somewhere in the neighborhood of 1/6 of the economy, Gerald, what do you make of Obamacare, and is it truly the death nail in the republic, or will it collapse under its own weight?
Well, I'd like to answer the first part of that question first about the students. It's not only in the United States. In China, for example, 25% of the college grads can't find jobs. Look at the report that just came out earlier this week. In Cleveland, they're asking Walmart employees to donate food and other things this Christmas to other Walmart employees that are living substandard lives. So the multinationals have taken over. It's a multinational takeover. This is not globalization. So there is no future. It's Slavelandia. That's what they've turned it into. And you could go back and you could see it with when Jimmy Carter was one of the worst, by the way. I know they love that wonderful peanut farmer, that regular guy. Yeah, he's the guy that started to destroy the banking system, pull out the regulations. He pulled off the regulations, and I was flying a lot in those days, first class around the world. I used to work in D.C. and Chicago when they deregulated the airline industry. And now it's turned into flying, it's like being on a train in Calcutta. Everyone knew it was going to happen. And now what do we have? We had between 100 and 150 airlines. You want to talk about competition with regulation? Back before Carter deregulated it. And now what do we have? 2? They just had a merger with American and American and U.S. Air, and now you have United and Delta. So what I'm saying is, by the deregulation with the Sherman Antitrust Act, the Robson-Patman Act, the Clayton Antitrust Act, everything is in the hands of the few, and so these college students and most adults are screwed because you can't open up your own business anymore. They're taking over everything. You are only working for the company's store. Mm-hmm. That's it. So now going to Obamacare. It's what the insurance companies love. You have a very narrow choice of doctors. You have high costs that you have to pay with your deductibles. Oh, and you got to buy their drugs, so they'll be selling you that. And they're limiting the amount of services you can get. This is not socialized medicine. I mentioned too big to fail before. It's the merger of state and corporate powers. It's called fascism.
That's right.
How much more do people have to see? You saw it with the Boston Marathon. You saw the fascist pigs out in the street, going door to door, breaking into people's homes, warrantless searches. You are seeing the fascism with the National Security Agency. They're listening and watching everything we're doing. You are seeing fascism with the banks taking over the country. Too big to fail? It's not capitalism. So everybody could see where it's going, but they don't have the courage, the dignity, or the respect. All they do is fight among themselves. I hear it from the liberals. Hey, look at the Tea Party. I hear it from the Tea Party. Look at the liberals. And what do? They latch on to two-bit politicians that couldn't shine my shoes. And they believe them. I'm watching everybody following Rand Paul. Hey, this is the guy that backed Romney. I just heard Rand Paul say how much he loves the military. That's right, he said it down at the Citadel. I don't like the military. I don't want a military. I believe in the founding fathers. I want defenders of our nation. I don't want to pay son of a bitches to go over to a foreign country and commit atrocities. But Rand Paul does. He said he'd sign away for war right away. Hey, Randy boy, join now. Sign up now. Anybody that wants to go to war, talk tough, put on the uniform and go fight. There's a place for you right now in Afghanistan.
That's right. We see time and time again, they roll out guys like Cheney to defend all of the military-industrial complex war activities. They roll out Cheney to throw Snowden under a bus. But here's the deal. What I really wanted to ask you about is this WikiLeaks revelation of the secret Trans-Pacific trade deal. You want to talk about a government working behind the scenes to destroy the people, Gerald. This one really has me fit to be tied, because if we don't stop it, they will control everything. WikiLeaks published the highly secret negotiated text for the controversial intellectual property rights chapter of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, treaty that Obama has been negotiating behind closed doors without congressional input or approval. This was reported by WorldNet Daily, and it's just one more example of a government that has sold out the people, working behind the scenes, working without congressional approval, working to destroy what we have left, working to kill and destroy the middle class. And I'd say they're doing a pretty damn good job of it.
What congressional approval? What Congress? This is what I'm saying. What Democrats, Republicans? How about the Bloods and the Crips? What a congressional approval. Congress will do anything, because to give them more power and more money. They could care less about us. They take you to war. What behind closed doors? Big deal. Look what Clinton did with NAFTA. This is another level of NAFTA. That's all it is.
That's right. It's NAFTA
on steroids. A continuation of it.
Right.
And this is what I'm saying, Sean. People will look up to their politicians and go seek one out. Oh, there's somebody in the Bonanno or Gambino or Lansky or Dutch Schultz family that is halfway decent. Yeah. The entire system is rotted. The new TrendsJournal that's coming out, the headline story is Empire America Fading Fast. You know when I wrote that? In 2002. And you know what I pick up from that point. And you know what I wrote in 2002? At a time when everybody had their flags out and they tied yellow ribbons to everything that wasn't moving, was the Afghan war that 88% of the Americans supported. The Afghan war longer than both the World War I and World War II combined. Yeah. And I wrote back then, the Afghan war will be a costly losing venture. Do you know I got blackballed? I used to be on CNN, Today Show, Good Morning America, Oprah, you name them, I was on everybody. No one wanted to hear it. And the people don't want to hear that they don't have the courage. They don't have the courage to to speak out and say, no more political parties. These are nothing more than gangs. How can anybody look at Nancy Pelosi and think that she has a brain in her head? How can anybody look to that little piece of crap Lindsey Graham and think he could fight or knows what he's talking about. John Insane McCain. Cheney, you know what the big story is? The Cheney sisters fighting over same-sex marriages. Who gives a shit? And this is all they have on the news. We have to get rid of the mafias. We have to get rid of the political parties that have destroyed this country. What are people waiting for?
Well, I have to ask you this because, again, I don't know what we're going to do when, all right, you've got Obama. He wants to push this TPP through, which is called the largest ever economic treaty. He's doing it in secret, and we already know what he did to us with Obamacare. Now, I reported this at SGT Report just about a week ago, Gerald, and I've not heard this repeated anywhere else in the mainstream media, and it's this. Rand Paul, thank God we have somebody in government who's willing to at least say what I'm about to read to you. And he said this, and I quote, from the Charleston meeting that he had just a week or two ago. I'll give you the right date. Hold on. The luncheon was on November 11th, and he says, and I quote, "I'm still learning about it," Obamacare is referring to. Quote, "It's 20,000 pages of regulations. The bill was 2,000 pages, and I didn't realize this until this week. The whole idea of you losing or getting your insurance canceled wasn't in the original Obamacare. It was a regulation written by President Obama 3 months later." End quote. Now, the reason I wanted to read that to you is because the mainstream Mockingbird media, which includes Fox News and CNN and the others, continues to say, did Obama lie? Did he really know? Did he know? Did he lie? Well, according to Rand Paul, he wrote it. Not only did he know, he, in his administration, wrote the regulation that allows these insurance companies to cancel people's health plans, even though he told them they could keep them. So how are we to win when all these people do is lie to us and sign things in secret and meet in secret?
Well, this is what I'm trying to say. I mean, Rand Paul is a member of the Republican Party. Rand Paul supported Mitt Romney. Yeah, Rand Paul could talk tough about this and that. He won't make a bit of difference. You don't put one guy into a mafia and change the mafia. And everybody knows that the lobbyists write all the bills. Everybody knows that the health insurance companies and the medical companies and the major hospital mega chains wrote these bills. This should come as no surprise. Why would anybody believe Obama about anything? What a shock. Hey, it's nice that, what do they call it? Camp Justice. You can't make this up. Guantanamo? Remember he was going to close that one? I mean, how about he was going to repeal the Patriot Act? I mean, one lie after another. Why? See, this is what I'm saying, Sean.
I know.
Why argue the details? They're distractions.
Because I don't know what else we can do at this point. What
I'm saying is the people have to mobilize. No political parties, no affiliations. And what Russell Brand is talking about, not voting, you go back to the TrendsJournal last year, my motto was, stay home, don't vote. People that vote for Democrats and Republicans, senators and congressmen, are voting for more war, more raping of our constitutional rights, and a more degradation of the human spirit. How much more proof do they need? You're talking about doing things in secret. Look at NSA. I just read something. I don't know if it's true or not. Our senator from New York, Gillibrand over here, she said that they all knew about this. If you like your doctor, you could keep your doctor, knowing it wasn't true. I mean, that was her quote that I assume just came out a few days ago, and you're seeing it on the alternative media. They all knew it. Again, it's a criminal operation. The founding fathers were against major parties running our nation. The founding fathers were against foreign entanglements. The founding fathers were against a standing military. How much more, you know what? Our Constitution is so far away now from the core of it. As a Catholic, the Catholic Church has no resemblance to what it used to be when it began. It's been so co-opted by the institutions. The same thing, and I'll go for most religions, the same thing has happened with our Constitution. It bears no resemblance to what it's supposed to be and what the purpose of this nation is. I want to go back to the roots. I want to see a restoration of Constitution. I want to see a renaissance of the Bill of Rights. I want to see the political parties out of power. They're not parties, man. They're gangs.
Yeah, you're right. And you're also right about that Senator Kirsten Gillibrand quote. I just looked it up. Democratic senator says, "We all knew Obama was lying." This was last Sunday on ABC's This Week. It's just an endless litany of crimes against the people. And I guess, to be honest with you, Gerald, I'm feeling a little down now about this conversation, only because I really try hard to give people hope. What is the bright side? Physical silver and gold in your possession outside of this criminal banking system. Trying to return to constitutional rule of law, acting locally, thinking locally, voting locally, taking initiative in your city council, trying to get the fluoride out of your water. Run for office yourself. Where are the bright sides left? Can we end this thing on an upbeat note?
You just said it. But it really goes back, we were talking about Mark before. And him coming up here with Frank and my close combat teacher, John Perkins. And John Perkins, my family, I came from a great family of, ancestors. I thank them every day for all they gave me. But there's one person that really helped change my life. That was the glue that put everything I have together. And that was John Perkins. Learning close combat. I don't cower to power. I don't give any bullshit, and I don't take it. And when people find the strength within themselves to stand up for their dignity and their courage, then everything will change. But right now, the people are afraid because that's how the government gets them. They sell fear. I have this guy, McRaven, this admiral, a general, whatever he is. He was just at a talk at the Ronald Reagan something. And he's talking about how the United States is going to train Libyan soldiers.
That's ridiculous.
Is this guy out of his mind? And then I'm reading the things that he's saying. And I said, when are people going to say stop? And you know what he's saying they're training them for? Quote, counterterrorism activities. Terrorism has become the new communism. I told you I don't like the military. I was draft age during the Vietnam War. I know what it was like. And I didn't go. And I wasn't even, I'm a kid. I was 18 years old. It wasn't I was, against the war because, I was intelligent enough to be against it. I kind of like those jet planes and guns, And I didn't go because I couldn't imagine me in a rice paddy, with a lot of weight on my back getting shot at. I'm saying the military, they prosecuted a war that killed 3 million Vietnamese, 58,000 of our soldiers, 250,000 plus have committed suicide, and countless millions' lives are ruined. And it was the commies back then. Those dirty commies, I tell you, Sean. If we let loose Vietnam, then all of those dominoes are going to come clacking around. Before you know it, they're going to land in California. I'm not making that up. They're doing the same crap now with this terrorism. So you're asking me, how does it change? They put fear into you about terror. When people learn how to stand up for their rights, that no one should tell them how to think or what to think, then it will change. The motto of the TrendsJournal, taught to me by my dear father, may his soul rest in peace, is think for yourself. Everything I said today, that's just the way I see it. You see it the way you want to see it. The facts are there. Add them up. If people don't rise to the higher level within themselves, nothing will change. So on the positive note, it's very simple. Get in shape. Physically, emotionally, and spiritually. When enough individuals change, everything will change. It's kind of like that 100th monkey story, the one about how all these monkeys started doing something, and all of a sudden, after the 100th did it, an island in Japan that was miles and miles away, those other monkeys started doing it. It just spreads. So we could change it when the individual changes. There's no leaders out there. The leader's in you.
Yeah, and very well said. And just to back up what you're saying about the powers that be using terrorism and the idea of terror to absolutely scare people into submission and for us to actively give up our liberties willingly, it's being done by design. There's a great interview with Aaron Russo, the late great Aaron Russo, his documentary film From Freedom to Fascism, a producer of some Hollywood movies, I believe including The Rose. In an interview he did with Alex Jones, as you well know, Gerald, he talked about being a friend of one of the Rockefellers, and this whole plan was divulged to him before 9/11 even happened. And it was all predicted, and that the powers that be would be laughing at us as our young men and women went into Afghanistan and looked through caves for terrorists that aren't even there. And here we sit now with poppy production reaching an all-time high in Afghanistan. After, under the Taliban, it was at an all-time low. Where are all these drugs coming from? You just have to wonder when our troops are there guarding poppy fields, and prior to us being there, poppy production was at an all-time low. It's just a racket. The whole system's a racket.
You said it. It's a racket. So why would anybody support a system that's a racket? Brought to you by, we can name the names, Harry Reid, Mitch McConnell, Boner, Pelosi,
Dick Cheney, George Bush,
Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. There's a SOB right near you.
Yeah.
And so you said it, the system. You cannot support a corrupt system and expect something good to happen from it. We need a new system. The systems that I believe in, not aligned. You should not be aligned when you go to Washington. Term limits. None of this crap where you never work a day in your life and you become a senator or a congressman for all of your life. Like that little weenie Ryan and the rest of them. I forgot him. Ooh. There's another disgusting little individual. So you get, and the other thing is direct democracy. You want to go to war? Let the people vote. You want to bail out banks? Let the people vote. You want the NSA? Let the people vote. I don't need somebody like this Clapper and any of these people telling me what they need to do for me. I could figure it out. What have they done? You know what the deal is, man? It's the military and cyber industrial complex. Who was the guy that was the head of Booz Allen with this guy Snowden worked for? What was his name? McDonald. Yeah, McDonald. McDonald, I believe, was the NSA head under Bill Clinton, and now the CEO of Booz Allen, who does all the NSA work. And according to the Financial Times, we're pumping $80 billion into the cyber wars coffers so they could keep screwing us. Let the people vote. Direct democracy. Oh, and you want to see how you're getting shafted? Little Timmy Geithner. Yeah, that guy that loved the Too Big to Fails. Yeah, him. Just got a job with Warburg Pincus.
That's right.
President. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, the guy before him, Jack Snow. Yeah, he's with another private equity firm, Cerebus or Cerebus, one of those. How much? Oh, you remember that other wonderful guy, Robert Rubin? You remember him? Yeah, the guy that helped deregulate the Glass-Steagall Act and made those banks become huge. Oh, he got a job with Citigroup after he left. Well, I think he made $120 million, but he was a good consultant. He deserved every penny of it.
Yeah. The revolving door of fascism. That's absolutely right. We just reported about that Geithner move the other day, and it's to be expected. We see the same things with the drug companies at the FDA, and Gary Gensler at the head of the CFTC, and then this new cat coming into the CFTC, Mossad. There's an ironic name for you. So the Mossad, he's a Wall Street insider. He's going to sit there and be the new chief to help regulate the commodities business. Well, Gerald,
which is just a front, by the way. They had, it's a multi-trillion-dollar business, commodities trading, and I think they have a budget of like about $300 million, and they've done absolutely nothing. It's just it's a make-believe thing. That's all. It's like the crossing guard, at the school, the kids crossing the street. They mean nothing.
Well, guys, I'll tell you what, when you subscribe to the Trends Journal, this is the kind of candor you can expect. Real news, real information from a real guy. Mr. Celente, I can't thank you enough for your time. Can you please tell us what we should be looking out for here on the Trends Journal and tell people how to get it?
Well, you can get the Trends Journal by going to TrendsJournal.com. And don't forget, Sean, besides the Trends Journal, I do Trends in the News every weekday for the real news that's going on, not the prostitute news. And this new Trends Journal is going to have a lot of information on what we're seeing as the investment opportunities, where the nation and the world are going, and really how to survive and thrive in these coming times. That we're never going to see anything as like it as we're seeing now. So the purpose of the Trends Journal really is to show you history before it happens, so you can see the trends, seize the opportunities, and avoid the dangers.
And that website is TrendsResearch.com, correct?
TrendsJournal.com or TrendsResearch.com.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, Gerald Celente, the Trends Research Institute, you caught me a little off guard today because I always think of you as such an upbeat, happy guy, and on this conversation you got a little heated, and that's also something I love about you, is that you're an honest, straight shooter.
Well, listen, if the gods could get angry, why can't I?
Damn straight. Well, thanks for joining us, sir. Well, let's keep in touch.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, thank you.